growing agitation. The jagged peaks of the island loom over them, a silent witness to the carnage. Abel processes the impossible, that a low-ranked student like Kang took down a monster of that caliber. Leon continues to goad her, casting doubt on the version of events he just witnessed. Abel is pulled into a memory of her childhood, where stories of legendary figures felt like mere fairy tales. The sheer scale of the destruction forcing her to reconsider everything. Her vision is clouded with red as she senses the immense lingering power in the air, connecting the dots to a history she thought was dead. She stands defiant, her own aura beginning to flare in response to the revelation. Her eyes burn with a golden intensity as she stares into the heart of the mystery. The name Geomma Kang rings out in her thoughts, the legendary name of a true monster hunter. She looks toward Kang, her expression a mix of awe and newfound wariness. Rachel continues to frantically call out to him, ignoring everything else as a student staff clacks nearby. A soft green glow emanates from Rachel's hands as she attempts to stabilize Kang's condition. Abel sighs, her internal turmoil settling into a grim determination. Leon approaches her cautiously, sensing the shift in her demeanor. Abel asks the burning question, why the instructors missed a cave so obvious. She remains unconvinced by the simple explanation of a survey error. Leon looks at the ominous, skull-like formation of the cave entrance, his mind racing. Abel's sharp eyes don't miss a single detail of the area's suspicious layout. She notices Chloe lying unconscious nearby and begins to piece together a theory. The unnamed popular student stands in the shadows, his eyes glowing with an eerie, calculating light. Leon and Abel exchange a look of silent concern as they realize the golden boy is watching them. Leon's sweat and nervous expression betray his growing fear of the situation. The wide, desolate landscape emphasizes how isolated and vulnerable the students truly are. Kang remains unconscious, blood staining his chin as the weight of the vision's truth lingers. Shadows of past wars flicker in the mind's eye, hinting at a peace that was always fragile. Red lightning crackles across a dark battlefield, marking the violent end of a struggle. The silence of the aftermath is broken only by a sudden, jarring realization. Abel von Nibelung's golden eyes widen in shock as she stares at the scene before her. Leon places a hand on Abel's shoulder, his expression grim as he interrupts her thoughts. Leon rubs his chin, deep in thought, while Abel remains tense and uncertain. The group ponders a terrifying possibility, the existence of a spy within the academy walls. Leon's face is etched with a dark intensity, the gravity of the situation weighing heavily on him. The unnamed popular student looks on with a cool detachment while Chloe lies motionless on the ground. Rachel keeps a watchful, worried eye on the unconscious Kang, her heart full of concern. A daring suggestion is made to seek answers from a legendary figure. Abel raises a finger to her lips, calling for secrecy as she mentions the Blade Emperor. The group stands as tiny silhouettes against the vast, unforgiving mountain range. The academy grounds are bathed in the warm, fading light of a setting sun. White curtains flap gently in a hospital window, signaling a moment of peaceful transition. Kang slowly opens his eyes, finding himself lying in a sterile hospital room. He stares at the ceiling, his mind foggy as he tries to remember how he got there. He raises a trembling hand toward the sunlight, testing his strength. The memory of the battle remains vivid, a silent testament to his survival. A surge of magical energy pulses through his memory, the magic ball attack that nearly ended him. It was a strike designed to be unavoidable, a lethal thread woven by destiny. In a flash of insight, Kang recalls seeing the critical path amidst the chaos. He remembers slicing through the thread, defying the inevitable with a single desperate move. The crushing pressure of the water attack still haunts his senses, a reminder of the power he faced. Kang sits up, his gaze distant as he reflects on the mysterious blessing that saved his life. Kang checks his stats, watching his synchronization with the Blade God blessing hit 7%. The system still reminding him that his power only activates with a blade shorter than 13 inches. He realizes that's probably why his growth feels so limited. With a quick tap, he explores the new updates on the screen. A notification flashes, revealing a new condition that will unlock once his synchronization hits 15%. His focus is broken by a sudden rattle at the door as a familiar silhouette looms in. Massive hug, calling out a nickname only she uses. The faculty member starts squeezing the life out of him, completely ignoring his personal space. He struggles to breathe, managing to wheeze out a request for her to stop. She lets go and starts digging through a small floral pouch, rummaging around for something she misplaced. Medea lets out a cheer as she finds it, while the boy in the back coughs and wonders if that tiny bag is actually a subspace pocket. She draws a gleaming katana named Murasame, presenting it as his reward for the midterms. Kang looks completely stunned by the turn of events. Right in front of him, a status window appears for a B-rank katana named Murasame. Back in the hospital room, Kang holds the sword while Medea Poison watches him from her seat. Medea adjusts her glasses, catching sight of a shadow lurking by the door. She doesn't have any patience for games and yells at whoever is peeking to get inside. An old man with a scarred face and white beard finally steps into the room. He immediately scolds Medea, telling her that at 70 years old, she needs to stop acting like a teenager. Kang just sits there awkwardly, watching the two of them bicker. The mood shifts instantly as Medea's expression turns cold and serious. She bows deeply toward Kang, while the old man stands silently beside the bed. She keeps her head down, offering a sincere apology for what has transpired. Kang looks completely overwhelmed, clearly not expecting this kind of respect from her. Medea remains in her bow for a second longer, her eyes filled with regret. The old man looks on with a solemn expression, his face etched with worry. Kang rests his chin on his hand, trying to wrap his head around the situation. He scratches his cheek, looking more tired than anything else. Medea looks up at him with a small, knowing smirk. She suggests that the root of the problem might actually lie within the academy itself. Once they leave, Kang stares down at his bedsheets and apologizes to Geomma, feeling like he has failed. He looks up, his gaze distant as he reflects on his own shortcomings. Medea gives a final, playful glance back toward the room. She teases the old man about his stiff attitude as they head out. Their footsteps click loudly as they walk down the quiet, sunlit hallway. Medea stops and looks back, her playful mask finally slipping. Suddenly, they both freeze in their tracks. She asks the old man if he remembers the way things were. He looks back at her, confused by the sudden trip down memory lane. Staring out at the academy, she recalls how he used to refuse orders from anyone. She looks ahead with a determined expression, her mind focused on the future. There is a certain weight to her gaze as she ponders their next move. They pause in front of a mirror, the old man noting that this place was ancient long before they arrived. He looks solemn, lost in his own thoughts about the past. A green light starts to glow around Medea as the building begins to rumble. Suddenly, the nearby windows shatter into 1,000 pieces from the sheer pressure. They walk through the debris without flinching as alarm bells start ringing. Both of them are on high alert, their auras flaring as they prepare for a confrontation. Medea's eyes glow with intensity as she focuses her power. She thinks back to the multiple surveys she had the instructors conduct to prepare for this. A vision of a dark, shadowy figure with glowing veins appears in her mind. Despite her utmost caution, things have not gone quite as expected. The old man looks at her, sensing the doubt in her mind. He reaches out and gently pats her shoulder to steady her. Medea Poison looks back over her shoulder, a playful smirk dancing on her lips. The old man narrows his eyes, clearly suspicious of her sudden change in attitude. She clasps her hands together, gushing over how Kang defeated a mermaid all on his own. She starts fangirling, leaving the old man standing there in awkward silence amidst the debris. A flashback shows a young boy standing alone, surrounded by the towering shadows of others. A young girl with long teal hair, Abel von Nibelung, flashes a bright, innocent smile. Back in the hallway, Medea asks the old man for his final thoughts on the boy. The old man wonders if Kang might actually reach the legendary realm he has chased his entire life. The two continue walking down the corridor, their footsteps echoing through the quiet building. The old man remains deep in thought, his expression unreadable. Medea gives a knowing glance, her glasses reflecting the bright sunlight. High above the academy, she laughs to herself, wondering if the old man has finally lost it. A buzzing sound fills the air as the focus shifts to the wolf. Class lecture hall. Inside, Kang sits at his desk, focused on a lesson about Scopuli Island. He leans forward, resting his head on his hand while his classmates chatter around him. In another memory, Kang enters a forge and meets a rugged blacksmith. He hands over a blade, asking for it to be reforged and strengthened. Blacksmith Wayland is immediately fired up, a fierce determination in his eyes. Kang thanks him, hoping for the best with his upgraded weapon. Back in the present, he turns around, sensing someone approaching him. Chloe limps into the room on crutches, her leg wrapped in a heavy cast. She shows off the bandages, explaining that she took a bit of a tumble. Despite the injury, she is in high spirits and jokes about how she acted her way through the pain. Kang watches her with a small smile as she hobbles toward her seat. Chloe mentions hearing about some serious tension between the director and the Elder Council. A vision of her fighting fiercely with a katana flashes through Kang's mind. He recalls Rachel D. Marat holding the line against a swarm of mermen with a speed buff. He spots the blonde hero student walking away, a dark aura following him. Kang thinks to himself that the guy would probably die the second he stepped into the demonic realm. A loud shout of silence suddenly erupts from the doorway. A bald instructor with a mohawk slams the door open, ordering everyone to their seats. Sweating profusely, he announces a temporary arrangement for the class. The students are baffled, whispering about why they would suddenly need 2 instructors. Gasping in shock, they all turn toward the front of the room as a presence fills the air. The old man steps forward, his eyes glowing with an intense golden light. His white boot makes a sharp click on the wooden floor as he enters. The Blade Emperor himself strides into the classroom, his coat billowing behind him. The Mohawk instructor trembles in fear while the rest of the class erupts in a frantic buzz. The old man scans the room with a piercing amber-eyed gaze. Kang looks absolutely petrified, wondering why on earth he is here. Outside, the Academy stone walls stand tall against the darkening sky. Suddenly, a hooded figure crashes through a window with a violent burst of energy. A hand reaches out and roughly lifts the chin of a battered man. A purple-haired instructor delivers a glowing, magic-infused slap that sends him flying. The man cringes on the floor as the woman stands over him with a terrifying presence. She gathers a swirling vortex of purple energy in her palm, looking down with cold eyes. Suddenly, the tension breaks as she holds up a simple gummy worm between 2 fingers. She slurps the candy into her mouth, looking completely bored with the situation. In a flash, she delivers a brutal kick that sprays blood across the room. She leans over the gasping man, the gummy worm still hanging from her lips. She nibbles on her snack while her victim clutches his chest in agony. The instructor stares him down, her violet eyes reflecting no mercy. The man covers his bleeding face, crying out as he realizes the gap in their power. She lands another heavy blow, the impact echoing through the small space. He collapses, sobbing and cursing her for being such a monstrous instructor. The woman casually bends over to retie her shoelaces, ignoring his pathetic groans. She stands and adjusts her hair, looking dismissively back at the man on the floor. He looks up at her with bloodshot eyes, questioning her about a single student. A dark shadow falls across the floor as someone new approaches the scene. The victim's expression shifts from fear to intense focus. The purple-haired woman looks over her shoulder, surprised to see a familiar face. Purple flames erupt around her hand as she prepares for whatever comes next. She licks her lips, a devious smirk playing across her face. Transitioning to the academy, a bright sun shines over the grand buildings. An instructor with a mohawk leads a group of students in a high-intensity run. They sprint across the courtyard, passing a girl on crutches, Chloe, sitting on the sidelines. Chloe cheers enthusiastically, waving to her classmates as they push themselves. Kang runs alongside the others, a nervous sweat already dripping down his face. He jolts in surprise when he senses a powerful presence approaching him from the side. To his shock, the Blade Emperor is running right beside him, dressed in a simple tracksuit. Kang stares in disbelief, wondering why such a legendary figure is participating in their gym class. A silhouette of the Blade Saint, Aron Nibelung, flashes through his mind. He recalls the legends of the past, seeing the old man among the giants of their world. The mental pressure of running with a legend is almost too much for Kang to handle. The Blade Emperor easily pulls ahead, his movements fluid and effortless. A digital display shows a community update regarding the Blade Saint title. Kang struggles to keep up, trailing behind the master with a look of pure exhaustion. The title, the Army General, appears, signifying the old man's immense rank and power. The Blade Emperor continues his run, radiating an aura of absolute dominance. He looks toward Kang with a stern expression, his amber eyes burning with intensity. He commands Kang to stop looking for shortcuts and focus on the road ahead. Pushed to his limit, Kang gives a loud, determined shout and continues running. The old man gives a small, satisfied smirk as he watches the boys resolve. In an instant, he zooms away, leaving nothing but a blur of speed in his wake. Students swarm past Kang as they continue their intense physical training under the sun. Kang gasps for air, his body reaching its limit as he struggles to maintain his pace. The instructor announces that all armaments will be strictly prohibited during the training session. With a loud clatter, a variety of weapons and mundane tools are discarded into a heap on the ground. The students look at each other in confusion, wondering why they are being stripped of their gear. The Blade Emperor stands sternly before the pile, his cane planted firmly in the sand. One of the students asks what this is, staring at the strange assortment of items. The entire class gathers around the master, awaiting further instructions for the test. The Blade Emperor looks on with a calm but piercing gaze, commanding total attention. He simply says, "Good," acknowledging the students' compliance with his order. Kang notices a glowing, ornate sword nearby, but his attention remains on the the instructor. An eager student springs forward, shouting a question to the master about their flaws. The Blade Emperor explains that even the finest weapon is meaningless without sufficient skill. His eyes sharpen as he delivers a core lesson that a true master never blames their tools. Kang stands in the crowd, absorbing the master's words with a serious expression. He gives a quiet nod, finally starting to understand the purpose of this unusual exercise. A heavy thump echoes as the instructor makes a final point to the gathered students. He declares that students who can excel with basic tools will find their true path. The students swarm the pile of equipment, pushing each other to grab a functional item. A chaotic crash erupts as the pile is overturned in the scramble for gear. Kang watches the madness with a wary look, unsure of what he should do. Amidst the scattered tools, a single kitchen knife catches the light on the ground. Kang reaches down and slips the small blade into his hand, deciding to use what is available. He glares at the Blade Emperor, certain that this entire chaotic setup was part of the master's plan. The instructor stands before the class and announces that today's session is all about one-on-one sparring. The news immediately gets some of the students looking a bit on edge. Everyone lines up on the training grounds as the old man prepares to begin the lesson. A student with a mohawk steps up with a clunky mechanical weapon while the instructor unsheathes his blade. The student tells the rest of the class to pipe down so he can focus on the match. But as the instructor's aura hits him, the guy starts trembling, realizing he is in way over his head. He stammers out a request for the old man to please take it easy on him. The instructor just stares him down, his eye glowing with a sharp amber light. Kang watches from the crowd, looking pretty tense as the atmosphere shifts. The old man gives a cold look, and Kang's eyes go wide as he feels the immense pressure in the air. The call of Geomma Kang echoes across the training grounds. The Blade Emperor stands ready, his golden eyes fixed on his opponent as his sword catches the morning light. The other students are floored, feeling the massive pressure coming off the old man. But some of them still just see Kang as a total loser. Kang stands there gripping his sashimi knife, trying to ignore the whispers as sweat drips down his neck. The master leans in, asking if the kid has actually recovered enough to do this. He is definitely feeling the heat, but he tells the old man he is good to go. The master's grip tightens on the hilt. It is a ridiculous sight, a master swordsman facing down a kid holding a kitchen utensil. Kang knows the stakes, since one wrong move and this whole thing is over. In this world, clashing blades means potentially losing a limb, or worse. The screen glitches as the battle officially begins. Kang takes a breath, focusing everything he has. The Blade Emperor tells him to drop the act and lower his guard. Behind him, the crowd is still talking trash, wishing the old man would just end it. But Kang is not listening, since he is completely locked in. The master shouts at him, demanding to know how long he plans on hiding his real strength. For Kang, this is not just about a game, it is about his pride as a master who lived by the blade in his past life. That title of Korea's finest knife master is the only thing that kept him from ever giving up. The onlookers are starting to get restless, wondering why the special entrant is just standing there. He tightens his grip on the hilt. A student tries to jump in, but the old man waves him off instantly. He can see it in the boy's eyes, since the decision has already been made. Chloe watches closely, sensing a shift in the air. That is when the system kicks in as he activates the blessing of the blade god. Everything else fades out. The world turns into a vast empty void where only the two of them exist. Just two silhouettes and the weight of their weapons. Kang takes a single step forward, the sound of his shoe tapping echoing in the silence. The Blade Emperor smiles, since he knew there was something more to this kid. This is it, the true enlightenment of the blade. A memory flashes back, a hand gripping a sword for the first time. A young boy standing before a legendary knight, bathed in the glow of the sunset. He was not always this weak, since he was shown the path once before. His eyes flare with that same golden light. He remembers the sheer power demonstrated by that knight. That was the moment he realized what a true blade could do. He watched that back walk away, vowing to reach that same level. Back in the present, the old man wonders if Kang is the key to reaching a new realm of power. He swings, his blade tearing through the air with glowing energy. It is a strike meant to test everything the boy has. The master's golden eye tracks his every movement as the blade closes in. The master's blade comes down with the force of a falling mountain, but his eyes widen as he realizes his target has already vanished. Kang has already slipped past the strike, moving like a ghost through the smoke. He is a blur of blue and white, closing the gap before the old man can recover. Sparks fly as the tiny sashimi knife holds its own against the massive blade. The master cannot believe the kid is charging in without a single shred of fear. It is a bizarre style, moving with the unpredictable grace of a bird in flight. They clash again, the air around them rippling from the pure intensity. Kang pulls off a mid-air twirl to avoid a potentially lethal counter. It is a high-speed exchange that leaves the ground beneath them cracked and broken. The Blade Emperor steps back for a second, looking genuinely impressed. But the warm-up is over now. He begins to call upon the true power of his weapon. His sword begins to glow with an intense, holy radiance that blinds the crowd. Kang stands his ground, refusing to be intimidated by the display of strength. The old man's eyes burn with a golden light. He brings the blade down in a massive explosion of pure energy. Watching from the sidelines, one of the students is completely lost. He is still trying to convince himself that Kang's previous win was just some lucky fluke. He just cannot understand why the most powerful man in the academy is taking this kid so seriously. He is desperately hoping to see the special entrant get humbled once and for all. The training ground falls into a tense, expectant silence as the dust settles. The whispers from the other students are starting to make him nervous, though. From a distance, it looks like the two of them have just stopped fighting. A total hush falls over the entire academy. It seems like they are just standing there staring at each other. But the guy with the mohawk knows better, since this is a battle of wills now. He used to think the master was exaggerating, but now he is seeing the truth. He is starting to realize that Kang might actually be the real deal. He tries to step in, warning the master that the school director is going to have a fit. The old man just shuts him down, not caring about the academy's rules anymore. He only wants to see if the boy can actually make it to the other side. Mohawk guy is left speechless as the pressure in the air continues to climb. They have shifted the fight to the mind plane, where physical limits do not exist. The ground thumps as they prepare for the final exchange. The master is watching for even the tiniest opening in his defense. Kang's grip on his knife hilt is absolute, the air hissing around the steel. The boy is growing at an insane rate right before the old man's eyes. It is the kind of raw talent the master has been waiting a lifetime to see. He ignites his blade with blue spiritual fire, ready to end the test. He calls on the blessing of the Blade Phantom, and the silhouettes of legendary warriors appear behind him. The Blade Emperor brings his sword down, a surge of blue spiritual energy trailing behind the steel. Kang lunges forward to meet him, neither side willing to back down as the silhouettes of spirits loom in the background. The ground shudders under the weight of their power, sending shockwaves through the entire academy. The crowd of students watches in terror, realizing the blue glow they are seeing is pure, concentrated aura. They start to panic, wondering if the duel has spiraled completely out of control. The master lets out a fierce grin, his eyes burning with the thrill of a real challenge. Kang grits his teeth, focusing every ounce of his strength into his knife as the air hisses around him. The student with the mohawk screams for them to stop, realizing that someone is going to get seriously hurt. He is convinced that if this goes on any longer, blood will definitely be spilled. He reaches out in a desperate attempt to intervene, but it is already too late. Suddenly, a woman with long green hair and glasses slams onto the field, her presence creating a massive crater. She stands directly between the two combatants, the sheer force of her arrival cracking the earth. Medea Poison glares at the master with eyes filled with rage, demanding to know if he has completely lost his mind.